morning. How are you?
We're
I
back
am
at it
too.
again.
We are back at it again. Happy day. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
How was your weekend?
Well, I have come to the conclusion that laughter is the best medicine, unless it bothers somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a busy weekend, a lot. I have a real double-edged sword on that meaning, but I've had a really busy weekend, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have another opportunity to join in at the start of a new week.
Yes. Well,
How are you? Did you have a good weekend?
I did a lot of work. I mean, but I also, I shot, there's this chick that I met through acro yoga. And so I went over to her house Saturday and I just did a photo shoot, which was so fun. There's just her and her husband like dipped out pretty quick. He was just like, what is this creative, weird stuff? So it was really, I haven't done that in years. So it was just fun. And it's fun to be back around my camera. I've been editing those images. So that's been really, really fun.
I love it. That's exactly what brings the heart to that contentment. I know that's what you love to do. So good.
I'm happy. And she's so talented. I mean, she doesn't have a backbone. It just bends.
It just bends, yeah.
And she's doing in the circle thing. Have you seen that, the Lyra?
I have, yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Cirque du Soleil adjacent type stuff. So I'm shooting in the middle of it. I'm just like, that is so cool.
That is very cool. I'm so glad. I'm glad that you had that opportunity. And I know that she was very appreciative because you're very talented.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah. So it was good. It was good. And then another market week.
Went glasses on, glasses off kind of day. It's so warm and humid here.
It is warm.
Welcome to Texas,
is here.
Right?
Summer is here.
Summer is here. Texas heat.
Well,
wherever you are, we got some Texas heat for you if you want to come see us.
And some humidity. Would you like some extra water in the air?
Yes.
We have more than enough.
Did we just get from Dallas to Houston? I mean, Houston is known for the humidity. We're not usually this humid.
But imagine how Houston is if we're like this.
Ooh, I don't want to imagine. Oh, gosh.
They're just swimming.
That's right. No sauna for me.
Well, something just told me I needed to lean in. Well, so last week we we were talking about the activations. We were talking about kind of the work that others can help you with and the work that we have to do ourselves, et cetera, right? Go see the other episode if you don't know what we're talking about. But at the tail end of that, we were sort of going into the world of cults. And, cult mentality is one thing, cult personality is another thing, but we're actually talking the legitimate, where people sign over their rights, their financial means, their sense of freedom to this construct. And, everyone always says, or when we think cults, we always think the 60s and the 70s, right?
Right.
But
things of the past.
No, but literally 3 years ago was when that Nexium cult was prosecuted. And so he went to jail, and actually the main star, the starlet who kind of got a lot of the other women involved, she just went to jail, I think, last year. So we have a very real, active cult situation, and nobody's picking it up. I think maybe now there's a Netflix thing about it, but in my memory, I always think of cults in like that grainy film from that we would see back to. And it's like, now even more than ever, as the world is more lost than ever, cults are really popping.
They are really popping, and it's scary because, I look at it this way. I've entitled it as Who Needs a Hero? Because oftentimes those that are looking to join that kind of entourage, that kind of group, they're looking for a hero. They're looking for someone to sit in the driver's seat of their energy and basically steer the wheel, steal their future, steal their day. And what's very interesting to me about it is that all walks of life get entangled into these type of situations, into cults. We recognize it's not just, those that might be simple-minded or those that are, in the lower echelon of our human food chain.
Not simple-minded.
Well, some of them are. I'm sorry. Love first. This is second. But no, but realistically, it really boils down to who needs a hero. People looking for something outside of themselves to make themselves feel validated, to make themselves worthwhile of who they are. And again, within certain, structures, needing a hero, wanting a hero, finding a hero is a wonderful thing. It's an additive. And that's the word. It's an additive. It's not an end all. So to a good life, we need a balance. It's very interesting, Sterling, because there's so many cults that are kind of moving behind the scenes that we don't even recognize, and that to me is kind of scary. With the pandemic, everyone was basically locked in their homes, right? We were all part of an invisible cult group, right? We're all locked in our houses, with no interaction from the outside world. So we started hunting and pecking for any reasonable solution to that. Mm-hmm. And there are those that came into contact with Zoom for the first time and any of the other networking opportunities, mm-hmm. and got a little bit twisted. And some of those that were looking for power, not just people. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of sad. I've seen a couple of them. I have one right now that I'm working through, I should say, one of their participants, one of their members. And over the fall of last year, I had another just amazing intuitive who got totally wrapped up in, another cultish group who, the Messiah was the leader. And by the way, the Messiah is always the leader. Your cult and everybody else's, right? He's a busy man or woman, whomever.
I have a curiosity around what we do, the spiritual mm-hmm. thing, where we're essentially, if you're good at what you do, eventually there's going to be this moment where someone's going to say, how did you know that? Why are you accurate? Because we're gleaning something that we technically shouldn't be able to.
Right.
And so you and I know why that's possible because we've studied it. And you and I know that every individual is capable of that if they study it to varying degrees, right?
Yes.
But if you have somebody who is able to get in alignment with some of that knowledge that is, occulted, safeguarded just by practice, literally just by understanding what you need to do. And then they start to basically say they're the only ones who can do it.
Yes.
That is a big red flag. We talk about red flags in like relationships and dating all the time. And so, there are very real red flags in the metaphysical community that the flags are flagging, in my opinion, sometimes cultish behavior, that isolatory behavior, that, if someone's sitting there and they're trying to help you through life, but then they're telling you to abandon your support systems, your marriage, your kids, that they just don't understand you, that, you should be around family of choice only. Like the vernacular is tricky in that there is truth there. We should be able to choose who our family is on some level. And those bonds are very real. But then we also can't, from your book of phrases and teachings, you say you can't be a seam ripper.
Nope.
and hope to be healed and hope to achieve healing. And so that is a big red flag too, is somebody who is, whether they're metaphysical or not. I mean, it could be fitness. It could be anything where someone's trying to help you improve because you've decided you wish to improve or wish to be happier, wish to be better, whatever it is, smarter, more talented. All the people that can help you with that process, they should be emboldening the things that embolden you, not isolating to where they're the only thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Shirley. And that's exactly what this is about. We recognize the value of mentorships. We recognize the value of learning and getting education from those that know the subject matter maybe a little bit differently or a little better even. But we recognize there's a huge difference between take my hand and let's figure this out rather than let me lead the way because I'm the only one ahead of you. Do you see?
And put on a blindfold because do you trust me?
Bingo. Bingo. Do you trust me? We're in a very delicate spot with what we do because our actions, our efforts, our work really call about trust. I mean, what we say when we are accurate and things come to fruition based on statements we make, then we do have those that want to take it a step further, that want to follow us, that want to be there, want to almost in some ways, and sometimes unhealthily, consume us, because we seem to get the answers. And that's great. And I know how sometimes in some people that could really kind of twist them up and make them feel that they might be the Messiah. But it's I don't want to call it an epidemic, but it's getting to the point, just in what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis, where there are many in the realm, not only in the metaphysical world, but in other ways, that truly are looking for maintaining, or certainly obtaining control. And we have to take a really good look at that and the value and the health of that. What is control?
And now, as we're sort of enduring this silent, unspoken recession. And so most people are, well, let me say this very perfectly. The people that have the charisma and the vitality that it would take to gather a following, because that takes effort and extroversion, potentially resources on the front end. Those that are capable of doing all that are also the demographic of that, late 20 to mid 40, where their jobs they're in the least amount of power because of the way our world is working right now. So you just, especially like 2020, everyone lost their job. It's like, if there was a spark to ignite the desire to never be out of control again, which I think is a root for a lot of the cult leaders, man, that Flint hit the match back in 2020, if not
Exactly.
Once again recently, because we've had such a hard time socioeconomically.
Yes.
Plus, then on top of that, the social threats. If you say something wrong, you're screwed, like all these issues, right? And they're all kind of just removing personal power.
Right.
Then you're going to have some people kick back, because the pendulum is going to swing, and someone's going to say, well, I got a laptop. I know how to talk to people. I'm a pretty convincing person to begin with. Maybe I was in sales before I lost my job, whatever. And then before you know it, you have these people that are saying, call me father, call me mother, call me yes. This, call me, the chosen one, whatever it could be. But it's like, they're elevating themselves in their own mind. And I think you can sort of drink your own Kool-Aid.
Yes.
To stay on brand. But they are, you see it. I see it, especially metaphysically, because when I sit here and you try to glean information, that thought process in the back of your head of like, am I right? Am I right? Is this right? Am I hearing it right? Whatever. I don't see that in them at all. To the point where it's almost like, you had a dream about roses. You're going to have 12 roses in 3 days, and this is what that's going to mean. And I'm like, you didn't even stop to take a breath to determine what it feels like.
Right.
So there's also this outrageous lack of self-doubt in a lot of the metaphysical cult personalities.
Yes, there are.
And it's very interesting.
They do get away with it. I had a client, one of my regulars, she reached out to me, and this falls right into what we're discussing right now. She reached out to me. She said, I'm really embarrassed. I said, why? She said, you haven't heard from me in 2 months. I'm like, that's fine. You've probably been living a good life. Good for you. That's a good thing. And she said, no, she said, I saw someone else. And I said, I don't get where we're going here. And she said, I went to this psychic. She has a little center over off from, one of our main freeways and highways and byways. And I said, good. Did you get some good advice? And she said, that my husband would cheat on me and be with someone else completely new 2 years from the day. And I said, oh, okay. That felt pretty straightforward and a little bit harsh, perhaps, maybe. And she said, that she would check monthly, and all I needed to do was make an appointment with her every month, and we would continue to really work hard to keep them apart.
Wow.
And so next month she went, she said, yep, still there. And my client was shocked. Like, how does she remember? Well, she's got a vested interest to remember, right? And she said, make sure you show up again. I'll see you next month, because if you don't show up, it could happen sooner. I just don't know for sure. But right now, you and I are keeping it at bay.
People make me really upset.
A cult? Well, it's a cultish behavior. It's a cultish behavior. It's like, I'm the one, the only one. If you don't see me, well, something bad might happen. I can fix you upper. I'm that person. For a small nominal fee, you too can be fixed up. So we recognize that it doesn't always have to be group based. It doesn't have to be 40 followers plus. We recognize it starts as one, it builds as more. Now, please understand, because the first person who gets this wrong is going to go, well, Terri does the duck walk through the wellness expo. She must be trying to get a cult started. No, I'm trying to get a duck walk started.
Yes.
Okay? Because it's the way for you to find joy and laughter and happiness. Not for me. I don't really. I mean, I benefit from others' joy from being around them. But that's for you, sweetie. That's it. That's for you.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you this, but it's been so long. I had 2 different circumstances before I met you, probably a year before I met you. And I was just starting to believe in metaphysics, but didn't know anything about it at all. And there was a guy right next to where I used to live. And I'm doing a reading and I just don't know anything about anything. And he's got this ceremonial Indian style background. He just looks the walk, right? Like he looks legit. And then, talk about the universe being protective. He basically scares the shit out of me. He basically tells me that I have attachments around me that have been there since childhood, that they don't leave me alone, but that he and his group, whoever that is, could pray for me for 40 days. And I had to not eat pork during that 40 days or it would all be bad. And it was $2,000. And I'm just sitting there and I got that COVID, Trump money. And I'm thinking, well, it's my immortal soul or $2,000. And I didn't even earn this $2,000. So I start trying to figure out the Cash App, all that, because all that I didn't have then. And then it just kept failing. And then I started getting a weird feeling. There's no reason it should have. And I was like, well, you know what? We'll figure it out next time. And then after I left that room, it's like all the logic came back. So it's intoxicating in that moment. Fear, the offer of a solution to the fear immediately.
Yes.
And then I had another circumstance like that with a card reader, but she was using Norman. She was using a traditional, not like a tarot deck. And I thought that was cool, and so I'm sold. I'm like, oh, I've never seen this before. And then she stops mid-reading and she says, I can't finish the reading. I'm thinking, again, like another person who says something's wrong with me so bad that they can't finish a reading. And then she says, well, but here's what I can do. I can't remember. I'd have to like hold the deck or something. And then she would take it to the secret place that is protected. And she would be able to work with these energies for me on my behalf to the fine tune of, I think it was like $1,200. And I'm very grateful that I didn't get jaded from that experience. But oh my God, do I understand if somebody was, because that's just crazy.
Well, exactly. And to me, I keep seeing used car salesmen around you. And I love used car salesmen, don't get me wrong. But even then, kick the tires, people. Walk around the vehicle. Listen to what's being said. And I'm glad that you realize that. But I understand during a vulnerable state of mind, we all are, we all sometimes succumb to that kind of behavior. We want to be healed. We want to be saved. We want a hero. It's okay to want a hero. It's okay to find a hero. It's okay. But when the hero is the only one in town, there's not a hero. There's someone who's basically taking advantage of you. And again, some people are going, whoa, which direction are we heading? Are we talking about bad readers or are we talking about cults? Well, they're sometimes one and the same.
I was saying. Mm-hmm.
They're one and the same. Again, do we have opinions? Yes. Am I opinionated? Oh, you betcha. Absolutely. But I also try to do my due diligence in seeing why I'm opinionated. I try to be very fair until I no longer feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
When people take advantage of other people. I don't like people taking advantage of other people. Cults are really kind of written that way. If you look at, we could go right into the definitions of cults and what they actually entail.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about absolute authority. Absolute authority. Someone who is a cult leader does not want you to believe anything else that you hear, because that is either blasphemous or offensive or unheard of or unallowed or all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that the cult leader has to have accountability. It simply means they are there. That their presence alone is your answer and only answer. They can be very charismatic. I mean, seriously, if someone is offering you, a cookie, you're more apt to follow them, and if they're offering you, your hair pulled along the way, right? So oftentimes they're very charismatic. They tend to want you to join the fold because you've got something that nobody else in the fold has. And in some case, your virginity.
I mean, I was literally just thinking about the why is there always it eventually devolves into something of a sexual nature.
It usually
because
does.
control goes there. I mean, that
control goes there. Full control goes again. It's spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. It goes to all the different corners, recesses of the human condition. And so once again, we see, if there's no other path, there's no other way. They own all the rights to sanity, to rationality, to all the other things. Then we recognize that we have a choice. And a lot of people caught in that situation are curious. Even those that are of the rational mind will get curious. Wow, well, what do they have to say? What is this about? I actually participated in what I deemed to be a cult. I participated for one afternoon until I really couldn't keep my mouth shut anymore, and I had to end it because.
How recent was this?
This was back this was prior to the pandemic. It was an organization that was built, and their primary source of revenue was their followers, and also their followers bringing in intuitives to do readings. And so they started running a fair.
Oh, wow.
They started running a fair. And again, it was a holy quest, of course, because they've got to land somewhere. So this was a holy quest. And so what happened was there were certain keywords you couldn't say or use or do because it would be insulting to the master. And
did he call himself master?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh.
He was the
Why
chosen
do people
one.
suck?
Well, I know. That was so interesting because the chosen one ended up doing healings during this fair.
Not the chosen one. I'm just going to die.
It was really great because he was so good at these healings that he would spend about 2 minutes with the client for $50 and then go play on his cell phone for the other 28. He was very good because he could heal like that, and you could just hang out for 30 minutes. You get me, right? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So, again, everyone is looking for a hero, and it's okay. I look for a hero. I look for quality people. I look for people that I can look up to. I look for people that I can help, so we all can look up to. Not me, but just each other.
Well, the ironic thing about the whole someone, because you're exactly right. Everyone's looking everywhere they can to give up their own power immediately. Because we always say this, but like free will, it's a God-given gift, but it's also a deep responsibility. Because when you wake up and the bed that you're laying in is horrible, there really isn't, like, that's a heady mixture to have to sit with. So,
it is.
But with that said, people who follow even just literary cues, but also if you want to go metaphysical, if you want to definitely go into, the hidden stories within religious texts, it is the hero's journey. And guess what? Everyone always has their face in the dirt on that process. Everybody has that day. So it's like, if we would have more faith in ourselves, those days that we're just, face down in the dirt, bruised, 9 of Swords, if you follow any of that, to some of the listeners you would. But it's like, you're supposed to move past that. That's a spark to get you into the next step. You're not supposed to put everything down and say, oh my gosh, I'm in my bed crying. Somebody come fix me. Because we can acknowledge as well, some people argue that altruism is not as real as we think, right? So someone sees another person crying in the bed, face down in the dirt, and they take all of their resources and time and effort to pull you out of it, and they don't really know you that well, or they don't have a big vested interest in you at all. I do wonder, what is the underlying driver here? Do they have a savior complex? Which, more power to you, because we need victims, we need saviors, right? So these are roles that get played out, but people don't just go around doing that for fun. There's a trade-off. There's something they're getting. Power. You're going to promise them your loyalty forever. they're going to assume that because they saved you, they get to now, control you and dictate the next moves that you make. And we hear that a lot, even in covert contracts of relationship. Oh, well,
absolutely.
You know how busy I am. All I have is Thursday tonight, but you get it, right? And then before you know it, you're in this contract to always be on their schedule because you're just trying to be a good person. But now they have control over your schedule.
That's exactly right. Now, people, please understand, we're not knocking those that try to help, because if you're face down in the mud, I'm probably going to go and see if I can help you get up. I'm not going to say now for the next 60 days you can see me every week for $100 a pop, and you and I can work it out together. I may say come see me, but I'm not going to say let's do this and make it happen and take away any of your free will. There are, and I agree, there are savior complexes. There are a lot of different types of people out there in this world doing many different things. And if you are one of those that help others, amen to you. Keep it up. Keep doing it. I know you're doing it for the right reason, because if you're not, you wouldn't be listening anymore. You'd be shutting this podcast down because you would be thinking, oh my God, how dare they? They're talking about me. So
right. Well, and I'd like to be the first person to say it's partitioned. It's not the entirety of who I am, but there's definitely a savior complex within me, because there's a version. And on top of that, if somebody wants to tear apart my psychology and say, well, this is an issue or it isn't, I own that. You know what I mean? It's like, I was not saved in my childhood. Of course, I'm going to probably desire to reenact that and help other people. But if at the bottom line is that I do help other people and I don't take advantage of them, then I don't know why that's a relevant piece of information, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be the first one to say I have it. I just have control of it.
Absolutely. I totally get it. So as we move down the echelon of what do they look like? What do these cults look like? Well, again, absolute control. If you have to call someone a messiah, it just reminded me of that. Was it Jeff Fox that says if you're a redneck, if you da-da-da? I feel like I need to go there and go, you're in a cult if you can't speak.
Red flag. Yes.
You're in a cult if you have to call someone master, the chosen one,
mother,
the Messiah,
father.
Well, I like to be called mom sometimes. I got people that call me mom, and I'm okay with that, because I'll bring them cookies next time. I don't care. They have opinion with me. They're safe.
But if it's like, this is what everybody in my flock calls me,
then I'm gonna get nervous. That's a problem. It's about accepting no criticism, no opinions, and certainly, heaven forbid, no questions. Because if you question a Messiah, then you must not trust and believe in the Messiah. So that's a red flag to the cult. So you probably would get punished. You probably would get shunned for a bit, and then you would be brought into the fold, and you would either you'd be in the fold as a even more quiet, silent type, or you would start becoming the problem child. That happens. There's no management. The Messiah is the controller of the flock. You don't need to know the budget. You don't need to know why you've had to give up, $1,000, $2,000 a month, or even sometimes they just want it for your services for a couple days. You will be providing all the food for our group for a week.
Would you like to volunteer?
Would you like to volunteer? Except we're not asking you to politely volunteer. We're telling you that's your role. Otherwise, we're going to oust you again, throw you in a corner, bad mouth you to the rest of the flock, and make you feel bad, because that's what cults do.
I was just looking up the actual definition of Messiah. And it's essentially it's the bringer of truth, right? Like it's supposed to help forward movement into a better life. So that should be free. I mean, like, Jesus was screaming it from corners. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I'm not saying that like what we do should be free, but I'm saying that pathway forward, if you're doing work of the light, you shouldn't be coming back having to subscribe to it.
Exactly.
The truth should be elucidating over time by itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. Another thing that we have to pay attention to, a cult, whether they are well organized or not so well organized, they have certain belief systems. If you leave them, you are trash. If you leave them, you need to be punished, or you need to be ostracized, or you have just walked with the devil, the demon, the other side, whomever, whatever it is. But if you leave, you are no longer welcome. If you were to come back, I guarantee you, depending on what depth of abuse is going on, you would certainly have a very, very rough reintroduction. Those that leave a cult tend to be ostracized. They are badmouthed to the community. They are made to feel that they are either mentally ill, or they are uncooperative, or they are evil. Isn't that great? Really, if you're in an organization that you say, hey, you know what? I think I'm done for a while. I got to take a sabbatical. I haven't seen my kids in a while. My love, my love life, stinks. I'm going to be gone for a while. And they say, you leave and you're not welcome back. Run. Take that as your cue. Get out of there. Cults hold you hostage. But sometimes they're very sweet. But I'm going to tell you who's the sweetest are the people in the cult. Not the Messiah. The Messiah's got to rule and keep order and be the strong arm and be the ruler. The Messiah can have a partner, but not always. Messiah usually likes to stand alone, but sometimes the Messiah holds on to another person. Either usually it's a male and female, or male is the typical structure of that. And those that are part of the cult, most of the times, at least for the people that are just joining a cult, the petitioners or whatever, parishioners, not petitioners. Yeah, I'm the petitioner. There you go. Most of those that are taking part of this are kind, loving souls, and their job is to keep you on, basically keep you in line. They tell you the ropes, like you can't say this, don't say that. We know you like to talk, but you need to say this instead. Don't ever question. Make sure you don't ask those questions. You've got to be more available. You've just got to raise, and we haven't heard or gotten a penny of it.
That's so scary. Oh, that's so
terrifying.
Scary.
It's a terrifying situation. There are a lot of cults, and it's just freaky. The one that I worked with, a very well-known client in Dallas, and she was in the middle of the Messiah complex. Her ruler, I'll call her ruler, that's what he was. The ruler of the group was God, had come to earth. He was it. Surprise, surprise. And for a nominal fee, you too could know he was the Messiah. Of course, that was the initiation fee. And if they liked your money, then you could come back with more. But if you dare question any of the validity, then you were immediately given many tasks, many jobs, and you would have to up the ante because your money needed to be more, because you were being, what's the word for it? Not undeserving as much as you were being disrespectful.
Well, you've known me a long time. What would you do? How would you treat me? Like, how would you try to guide me? Because you're very about protecting free will. You're very about not interjecting. Is that correct? Interjecting without permission.
Sounds good.
So imagine I'm like, next time I see you, I'm like, oh my God, Terri, I met this couple. They're super successful. They're so nice. They really want to help me in business. They really want to just, mentor me and guide me to this better future professionally. And they seem really sweet and they care about my heart, right? That's how I address it, because nobody ever says, I think I met a cult. It's always just like a glowing.
Don't do that.
You know what I mean? It's always glowing. It's always really exciting. And
right.
As a human nature, as a good friend, you're like, all right, that's a lot of good energy. So you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want to put that down. But as time went on, how would you handle it if I just kept raving about something that you felt, oh, she's hop, skipped, and jumped into a cult?
Well, and that's a good question. The first thing I would say is, well, thank you for sharing that with me. It sounds very interesting. I love it when people can help other people. That's what we're in the business for, is to upgrade, to get our lives even in a better place. So if you have kind souls that want to help you, the next thing I would probably say is there a fee involved? Are you required to pay for what are you doing? And whatever your answer, if you said no, I just need to show up. Okay, lovely. I like that. So far, so good. Again, if you're charging a fee for it, that's fine. If you've got a class or a workshop or you do readings for a living, I mean, it is for a living for a reason, then okay, very cool. And so as you would progress, if you kept saying, well, I'm told that I need to show up more often, and that's kind of, if I'm getting all this wonderful information, I need to have something to give off in return. Well, then I'd start questioning that a little bit. I recognize that as a collectiveness, as a family unit, we do things for each other. Someone bakes a pie, someone's going to bring cookies next time. If someone is sweeping the floor, someone might be dusting the other room of the area. So we recognize there's a give and take in all ways. But one thing I do see a lot is that as it progresses, there's more giving that gets in reverse order.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden I'm being told that because I haven't done XYZ, that's why I'm faced with these difficulties and struggles. And as long as I stay here, I can work through those struggles in a safe environment. Okay. Well, we know there are a lot of keywords. We know safe environment. Who wouldn't want one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, a cult's not a safe environment.
Mm-mm.
It's quite the opposite. So we want to make sure, and we ask a lot of questions, because I've heard people say, oh gosh, I just found this amazing group. Oh, it's so amazing. It's so wonderful. Tell me a little bit about it. And I've actually had a couple people describe cults to me without recognizing that that's what they've been part of.
Well, I'm pretty bold, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But isn't there there's a new Knights Templar in town, or there's a temple of something? I don't know anything about it. I just keep hearing about it through the grapevine, and it feels like there's a lot of rules to that group.
Well, and again, I know, I'm going to be honest with you, I know limited information on it, but I will tell you, I do know some similar things that I have kind of come into contact with. And I, I'm a firm believer. If I join a group and all the bylaws, have to be written on 2 pages, you're a cult if your bylaws are keep your mouth shut and listen to me,
Yeah. Well, also, the curiosity I have around something like that, it's like, if does nobody have a full-time job? How are they able to have so many rules?
Well,
on
that
top
is their
of
full-time job. Do you see someone who's having that kind of, a Messiah doesn't need to work for a living because all of his people are bringing in the money.
Hey,
right?
Man.
You're
really selling me on the idea of becoming a Messiah. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. Oh my gosh! You'd have thought that'd have been a million of them. Up. What a deal!
What did they think about it before we did?
Well, that's it. And people, we are trying to, again, show the seriousness of this, but also we don't want you to feel that everything that you join or become a part of is a cult. Your new yoga group is probably not a cult. Your new Zumba instructor probably isn't going to steal your firstborn. We recognize we just have to do our due diligence. If you wouldn't let your bestie join, why are you joining? You see?
Well, that's ironic. That's ironic, though, is that because that's how they get more followers, is they say, go get your bestie.
They do. That's exactly right. So we recognize that a cult can be set up in many, many ways. If you are not getting, and see, I got to be careful with this, because I've talked to cult members. When I say, if you're not getting all that you're giving, and they say, oh, I'm getting a new life, I'm getting a reality, I'm getting to find myself. Okay. Well, you do need help.
I know that's not funny, but that's, oh boy.
If you are comfortable in a cult, I'm just going to suggest a couple things to you. Don't drag your bestie and don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If that's what makes you happy, I can't stop you from joining a cult.
Did you hear about the Nike shoes?
No, tell me about the Nike.
Yeah, so I guess there's a style of Nike shoe that was literally, maybe it was in the bylaws, I don't know, but everyone in this cult was wearing them. And then I can't remember if it was the Kool-Aid Man or if there was a different cult, but the footage flying over, because everyone was kind of dead because they made some choices, and they're all wearing this one Nike shoe that Nike discontinued it.
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
guess it was all over the news. But like I mean, Nike could have never, imagine being the person who designed it. It's a great shoe, it looks great, and then it just gets ripped off the sales because it was a cult favorite, literally.
Think about that. We joke about puppeteering and puppets and puppet masters and everything, but that's really what that is. A cult leader is a puppet master. You are a puppet. Do you want to be a puppet? Do you want someone to pull your strings? Do you want someone never to see it your way, because there is no your way? You are owned. You are bought and paid for. I'm not sure how will happen, because I really feel oftentimes you're the one that gets to pay. But please recognize, and I see it from all ends, and I see it from ways that make me nauseous. Now, please understand, if we give you advice, just like any really, and there's a lot of good intuitives, there are a lot of good, teachers and instructors out there that truly have your interests, that truly have your back, that truly want you to succeed, that know that when you succeed, we all succeed, that take your hand instead of make you walk behind them. There are plenty of those, but there are those you need to pay attention to. And I'm going to strike down something too while we're talking about this that I have opinion on, and I have been very diligent about keeping my mouth quiet. And here it goes, and and so this might be edited later. So if you see me going, that's probably she's taking the words out of my mouth.
No.
And then
I'm
I'll look
so
like
here
this
for it.
because there's a smile because I think she's actually put it in. But no, I'm going to tell you something that really, really gets to me. And it's along the same lines. I'm not going to say it's cult. Could be. It could very well be. I have some really cool people I know. In fact, one of my colleagues right now is working on her PhD. She's a molecular physicist, whatever that is. I can't even spell it. She comes to me. I'm her mentor. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to help her to keep light and keep airy and keep moving forward, and let's get this done. Let's get it over with. But she's earned a PhD. That poor woman has been in school for as long as, good God, I don't know, Hoover was the president. I'm not sure. But no, she wouldn't like that part. But my point being, she's earned her PhD. She's worked her tail off. She's got years and years of background. And you and I both know, and listeners out there, if you don't know this, I can perform your wedding. Just give me 15 minutes. I need to download my certificate and pay my $40. Okay? I don't mind people really having a good, solid background of knowledge. Take a class, be a class, get a certificate, get certified. Do and be all you can be. Make it happen, make it real. But I am not going to call you doctor if you just spent 3 months online getting yourself a really cool PhD. You are not my doctor. Yeah. And if you use that to act superior to everyone, you are not someone I want to have anything to do with. And I'm going to tell you that, and I mean that wholeheartedly. If you earned that PhD like everybody else does in the Western society, doctor, thank you. If you went online and printed out your certificate, keep it to yourself. I don't want to see your letters behind your name.
Oh, it's so insulting.
That's my personal opinion. And that, my dear, is not love before wisdom.
Well, nobody is. It's love towards the people that they are capitalizing on by using fake doctorate language. It's like, because you're exactly right. There's blood, sweat, and tears behind a lot of these certifications that are legitimate, right? And so,
yes,
how
there
insulting!
Are a lot
I mean,
of them.
You're stealing it. You're stealing the credibility. You're stealing and then take how do you say, like, request or require resources from another, and you have doctor in front of your name, and you're not. There's a special place, I'm sure, for that type of behavior, because it just really is ugly. It's unfortunate, and it's ugly, and it's but again, I do fall back on, it's going to be on your record.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The karmic record. It's like, you've got to deal with that. you've misled people, you live a lie, you get to go home and feel that, because there's not a version of it where that doesn't creep into your knowingness.
Exactly.
People
You
who live
do
fraudulent
know.
lives, they're
That's
really
right.
sad.
Well, and you do know who you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do you be you. But at the end of the day, at least try to be honest to yourself. Yes, go get your credentials. Go get all. I mean, hey, trust me, I do online classes too. Not very often, but I do. Probably more. I should do it more, probably. But not much has changed in the animal kingdom and such. So I figure my certificates are good for the last 50 years. But my point being, just what Sterling's saying: be real, be a realistic person. You can't go and expect someone to look at you as someone who's climbed up the ladder by blood, sweat, and tears for the last 6 to 8 years, 10 years of your life, when you spent 15 minutes a day at a computer getting a 3-month degree program online. And I don't mean any online degree is bad. I'm simply saying in the metaphysical community, you ain't my doctor.
No.
Thank you.
Amen to that, first of all. But second of all, with the the truth and what we say, if it's a message, right? And we're working in good faith, it's just going to be truth. It's going to be said a certain way. It's going to be layered in a way that which it can be received most likely. Yep. But we're being consistently asked, based on what we do, to elucidate the truth. Yes. Because that's what people are coming for. Well, what is the truth about my relationship? What's the truth about my future? What's the truth about my ex? Whatever the reasons could be, they're looking for real insight. And so if you're leaving a circumstance or an encounter with somebody who is saying they are of this world, saying they work in the light, and you're walking around afterwards feeling terrified or feeling so anxious you can't think about anything but calling them back to get more quote unquote truth, any version of that, it's like, no, I hear you do it and I know I do it, where it's like, I always try to uplift. And people could be telling me they just did 8 lines of cocaine the night before and they're cheating on their person. And no matter what, my job for however long we're sitting there is I'm supposed to say, you can do better and you will do better. And there is a path forward in the future where this behavior that you already don't like, because you're telling me you don't like it and they're telling me you don't like it, it doesn't always have to be this way.
Right.
That's exactly. Because that there is truth within that. But then also that's our job. And so I think the bad faith actors, they're wanting you to think, oh my gosh, if you don't see me next month, you're going to go on a bender. Kind of like what you were, there's always this risk at the end of it, that leading risk that makes you come back. It's like, no, I want, there's certain people, it makes me sad when I see them pop up on my phone, because that just tells me things aren't going well, because people don't really reach out if things are going great.
That's true.
Typically.
That's exactly right. Typically.
So that's the way it should feel when you leave a circumstance. I think maybe that's me. And I mean, I say this all the time. I'm not the love and light person. I'm very real. I try to keep it very realistic, but I also do want someone to feel like that they can do it, because the world and everybody else is going to tell them they can't. So if it's not me,
that's true too.
I just don't know what else to do.
And I get that, and we have a lot of similarities on that level. I tend to be a little more love and light, just because I've seen being knocked down so much from a different angle. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I have people tell me sometimes, they're like, now tell me the bad stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, how's life feeling to you right now? It feels awful. That's right. So we've already covered that. So let's go ahead and look at something better.
That's an interesting way to handle that. I love that.
Because people sometimes forget that there is an exit, that there is another life other than just misery and confusion and insecurities. And so we could sit and we could talk about all that. We could just kind of misery loves company, right? We could just dig deep, dig our heels in, get all money, and go to town. But you've been doing that, so you come to me for what? Well, for me to validate that you're in the ditch. You already know you're in the ditch. How do we get you out of the ditch?
But as a life. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
as a life coach, my job as well is to give empowerment, not because I've got it to give, but because you haven't, you just don't know it. So I'm giving you a heads up. I'm giving you another view, another look that, hey, you can do this. You don't need me to do this. I mean, thank you. You're paying my rent. I need that, my mortgage and everything, but you can do this. You don't have to go it alone, but you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we do is about empowerment.
Well, we talked about the honeycomb on the episode where we were talking about grief. We're talking about how to process through that, right? And when those lights turn on and when they don't. And so when we have that, it's like, I think it's John Campbell or Joseph Campbell, and he says, all the heavens, all the hells are within you.
Right.
And so it's like, if you look at a honeycomb and you're like, well, all the crazy depressive stuff, it's there, it's waiting to be lit.
Yeah.
But so also too is the version that's like really powerful and really strong and really self-confident. They're also there. They're also just waiting to be turned on. And so that is sort of what I think the cult stuff gets really messed up, is it just starts to say all of the world is dark. Let me be your light.
Yes, exactly. That the only light is from me, and anything other is darkness. And if you turn from me, I will destroy you. If you turn from me, nothing will ever be good for you. It's a horrible, horrible thing to witness. And going back to the Templar, and I do have to do some research on that a little bit more. I've seen some things, and I've read some bylaws of some organizations that are local. And you're right. And I read them and I'm thinking, you're not trying to help people. You're trying to unify a certain race, a certain belief, and a certain method. And you are actually coming at it, almost like a racist on some levels.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I thought we put the KKK energy to rest.
Yes. So I've got to do a little bit more digging, because after my initial dig through and research, I was pretty dismayed. I'm like, oh boy, I don't think I want that title. I don't want people to wonder where I belong. The only time I say K is when I say special K, and that's in my cereal bowl. I got no use for the other. I just don't. I don't get that. I don't know why I would even, anything that sounds to me like it's questionable. Why would you want it?
Well, you and I do also have to admit, though, that we have very not necessarily community related energy. Like, we can take it or leave it. And so
That's true.
I think that there is definitely a demographic that you and I just will never fall into, and have never, which is a deep seated desire to be a part of something. And even more, to add more to that, to be a part of something bigger than them. So now you got people talking about aliens and starseeds, and they're Pleiadian, and these people are this. And it's like, well, but have you paid your bills? Like, do you have a job? You know what I mean? And so, because it's not fun to be here on the ground, it's hard, obviously.
Right.
But
well, exactly. It's not fun to be on the ground. But it's so, oftentimes, Sterling, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm sorry.
You're good.
When we hear those things, it's usually followed up with something that's just very, exceptionally opposite. If you're here to save the world and you're trying to steal your mother's money out of her bank account before she passes, hello, Starseed, get your shit together.
Yeah, I guess the blue aliens got sticky fingers.
Right. I love aliens. I love you, starseeds. Hell, I'm probably one too. When I'm looking at my hands, going, "Well, that's what human looks like." I'm good to go on that. I don't mind. But people, if you're gonna give yourself a title, behave, be kind, be loving. Those are the labels I like to see you. Be kind. Get your sympathy on, get your empathy on. Be someone that other people want to be around with, not because you know it all, but because you care about it, because you care about all. You want people to have a good life. If you've got 2 lollipops, you give one away. You don't try to, stockpile it and go find everyone with lollipops and turn them into your followers.
Well, and I do want to touch on one thing, because I keep feeling that I should. So in relationships, a lot of times they call it the whole love bombing thing.
Yes.
But that happens with cult leaders. Imagine, say I first met you and say you run a huge metaphysical group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just, oh, come over for dinner. Oh, meet my kids. Oh, da 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 da. And then slowly, in about 3 weeks after I've dedicated myself to you, given resources, decided to volunteer 8 different ways, and before you know it, you're suddenly colder. Well, then and
Right.
I loved how it felt to feel your warmth. So suddenly you're cold, and then all of a sudden I'm tripping over myself to get that warmth back. And so be wary of that too, where it's like all of a sudden this person who inducted you and wanted you to be this big part of their chapter and this big part of their story, suddenly they don't have time. Well, maybe they got you where they wanted you, and now your usefulness has been reached. It's just to be
Right.
important to remember people don't act that way when they're in good faith. If they like you that much, they're going to continue to like you.
Exactly. And that's true. And if you were to say something to a cult leader in that particular regard, you probably would get a message, a twofolded message. One would be gaslighting.
Mm.
What do you mean? Why are you looking? Isn't that ego? Why are you looking for something else? Shame on you. You need to repent.
Oh,
You
wow.
need to think about your actions and why you're so hell bent on being greedy and obsessed with you. If
My
you
mom
want to
used to always
really
say,
repent,
it's not all about you. I'm like,
it's
I
not
wasn't
all
even trying
about
to make it
you.
about me. I was just
Yeah,
trying to.
it's gaslighting. If
Mm.
you really want to, do something to be in those graces that you suggest that you were and are not now, then bring me some of your friends. Show
Hmm.
me you're willing to give up what you know best. See, I'm
Hmm.
telling you, I'd have been a damn good cult leader.
Oh,
I was
well,
raised by
and
I was raised by
I mean, he
a
kind of
psycho.
was a cult leader. He ran that
Yes,
town
yes, he did run the town,
with an
and
iron
so
fist, a bloody iron
yes,
fist.
and I say it every day. Thank God I'm not an evil person, because I'd be such a good one. Boy, would I have fun. I'm not an evil person. Don't get me wrong.
Do you think that duality is what allows our perspective to be as full as it is? Because I don't know how you would be you if you didn't have that depth of capability in that other way.
And that's exactly, and I agree with that. And to give you a little snippet along the same lines, right? Just for those that don't have a clue and are tuning in, when my father walked into the room, regardless of what time it was, day or night, I was to stand at attention.
Mm.
I was to stand at attention. I was referred to as I was called the dog's name, because I was nothing more than just hired, not hired, but labor. So we know, just in that kind of instance, that's the way a cult not begins, but that's the way they can conduct themselves. Is you have no self identity. You belong to the big picture, but the big picture is just me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, standing at attention, if you didn't stand at attention, you were physically hit. You were
Mm.
hurt. And so you learn to be very aware of that. And in a cult, now, oftentimes they don't start off that way. They're more loving and, hey, we want you here and listen to what we're doing. We're going to have fun. And, you know, why are you having your person drive you? Why is your girlfriend driving you? Why are you showing up here with someone else? Why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're usually all exclusive
Yeah.
until they're brought someone else's permitted.
Or they believe they're like, oh my god, I have so much faith in you, you're gonna go someplace great. Also, what was that routing number? Yeah, and your future's so bright. Also, what's that bank account? I think I got the wrong digit at the end. Like they're sneaking in these little like manipulative things, all the while maybe saying stuff to you that you've never heard because your parents weren't supportive and blah blah blah.
And again, people, we've been there, we've done that. We know what it's like to be bamboozled.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we're not in cults, but we've been bamboozled by other people. Recognize that you're not an idiot if you get caught up in this. You probably are a very sweet, loving person who just kind of got swept away.
Yeah.
We all get sidetracked at times. I have a colleague. Well, that's a whole nother show. I'll talk about my clients. I have a client who went around town grabbing and getting $3,500 worth of gift cards. so that she wouldn't be in trouble for something that she didn't do because it was a scam online. Oh gosh, the computer freezes. Oh no,
Oh my God.
you're going to jail. So she spent her entire day getting gift cards for strangers so she wouldn't go to jail for nothing.
Oh my God.
People, we do ridiculous things.
Yeah.
We do ridiculous things when we're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
When we're challenged.
Me
when
for
we
sure.
feel vulnerable. When we're told we don't have a choice if we want to live, whether in jail or live at all. You see, we do typically we have choices. Unless you've done something that's incredibly wrong, you have a choice. You don't need to be a part of the cult. It's funny. The cult leader didn't like the fact that I didn't like to be part of that day, and I made it very obvious. I actually have a big mouth, just in case you didn't know. And so I was sitting there going, this feels wrong to me. I'm not sure I want anybody to come in and see me here. This feels very cultish. I'm not calling anybody master, certainly not master, dear God in heaven. I'm not going to,
No.
I'm sorry, I'm not that gal. And it was so funny because this was a couple years later, and this ended up being, I think it was last year at an expo. The chosen one came to me, goes, do you remember me?
You said, no, I meet a lot of people.
And I looked at him, I said, I think I know who you are. I don't know for sure.
I love it.
And, which is, again, I was always I'm not sure what this is. But so I wasn't trying to be like arrogant with him back, but I wanted him to know that he was not important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he still, even then, wanted to talk to me because I was the one that got away.
Yeah.
And I really hope there was a lot more than just me that got away. But I was never invited back. I was never invited back to the group.
Well, and that is why, listeners, we're starting the Church of Terri and Sterling. I'm just kidding.
Yes. And for a nominal fee of $1,000
every day,
initiation. Every day.
It's an expensive club.
Yeah, it is, but hey, it's exclusive, right?
Oh,
when we
man.
get more money, we'll bring in a few more.
Well, I told you I'm not going to say what it is called, and I've met some very good friends from it. But the thing that really got this podcast started was that group that I had come into contact with.
Yes.
And really cool people, amazingly cool people.
Yes.
And now some of them aren't driving certain cars that were developed in certain years. And so then my question, because I got annoyed, you know how I am. So then I go, well, all right, what's it matter? Does it matter the year that it was made? Or does it matter that it's Ford and when was Ford's founding year? Or is it the model? Like, when was the model made? Or who developed the model and then when were they born? Because that's how, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're thinking they're going to incur crazy bad luck because of this Chinese zodiac stuff. And I get it. I think it's way different than the way that they perceive it. And now you got people trying to sell their cars. And to me, while this group is not requiring anything of them necessarily, like the leader of it, I think doesn't really care. But it is, you know what I mean?
I get it.
But like,
there's those cults too that they just sit back and watch the chaos,
and it's bad information.
It's bad information.
I mean,
but it works.
I know, but that now you got people. I mean, remember? Oh, I won't go too far into it, but the person that I told you about who was getting people to change their names or trying to get them to change their names, because then the valuation of it would be different. So then that would mean that their entire life was going to change. I'm like, no, I think this guy's just an alcoholic. And I think he's probably got to get that under his belt before a name change is going to really change his reality. Like, can we be honest? I just don't understand what's happening. That's why I dislike so much of the metaphysical absolute nature of it.
Yes.
Because nothing's that absolute. B, if you're good at what you do, you can sort of understand tendrils of where energy is aggregating, but that's still not a guarantee. Like, what are we doing here? It's just, so please don't sell your car if it's made in your enemy year. The people that understand.
Exactly. But Sterling, I have to add to that as another segue here. Here we go. If you truly love me and trust me as a friend, I'm going to tell you, you need to stop driving down any streets that start with M. Because that letter M has been haunting me all week. Every time I look at M, it makes me sad.
Really?
So, no.
Oh,
No.
okay. I trust you so much. I just was like, what do you mean?
See? Bingo!
I'm your first cult follower. I was like, what do you mean?
Do you see what I mean? I'm sorry,
I'm
honey.
so
I had
gullible.
to, just
No,
call me
but-
mom.
Yeah. Which is W upside down. Maybe that's the message. Yeah.
But do you see what I just did? And you actually, because you trust me, you were like, oh, there are a lot of M streets. What the hell's next? Well, the realism here is that's the kind of the nature of what you're talking about. It's that kind of simplicity, but that, and we look at it, I mean, yes, in their way, that's not simplistic. They've got a paper trail that says why you shouldn't. Well, who's to say my paper trail of thought isn't as important? Well, why would it be any different? If I can't drive on a letter M, I don't want you to. I bet I could get at least 5 people today not to.
Damn, that's so true. And if you told me that, I would not. I'd try to not.
I know.
I swear to God, I would try to not. That's so bad of me. But I do trust you.
Well, and I'm sorry. It actually worked very well.
Would you like my bank account, Terri?
It was so funny. You literally fell right into the ditch with that.
So bad.
And I was going to expect you to go, ha ha, I see what you mean, Terri. And you're like, really?
This is so embarrassing. But no, I mean, that's
perfect.
It is, because there's a lot that you could tell me. But again, I've developed a lot of faith in your desire to help people. So I think that goes a long way. But
there's a responsibility to that too. I have a responsibility not to be a jerk with it. I have a responsibility not to be an idiot about it. I have a responsibility to use kindness instead. And I want to. I mean, it's not like it's hard to do that. I don't want you to think that. But that was a perfect illustration of how people get sidetracked and go sideways with people. Is that they are, and I would never do anything to harm you, Sterling, really. You could go on all the M streets. I know that. But tomorrow, no T streets, because they're the ones I'm after. And so we recognize that there's just so much out there that we have to not be paranoid about, just be realistic about. If your first thought is something feels off, step back, figure it out. It probably does. You have guides for a reason. They're not just there to take up space and to play, guide games with. They're there for a reason. They want you to pick up on this. Not every person you deal with is a good soul. Not every group or community that you pick up in and end up being a part of is a good landing spot. Pick and choose. Use good common sense and use what you naturally, innately have. That's intuition, people. On a sidebar, real quick, I got to tell you something that you'll appreciate. I have the most incredible little nephew. He's adorable. He's far away, and I miss him. He's so smart. He's coming into his intuition, and it's freaking out his mom, and I love it. And his dad is an intuitive, but he's more of a medium than an intuitive, and so it's really cool. You'll know Connor.
Yeah.
So Connor is just randomly saying things out into the world that are right and freaking people out, freaking his parents out so far. And me, I love it. Last night I'm sitting there looking at, remember those green cat balls with the cat? That I have one on my windowsill in this office, my home office. And it's green. It's got green, and the catnip's got a green tinge to it. And my little nephew, who's 4 years old, goes, Aunt Terri, where is that little green ball? Is it there?
Oh my God, that gives me goosebumps. That's crazy.
It was so funny because I was talking to him and I had been staring at it. Don't ask me why. It was right there in the window and I'm just staring at it like, oh. And I'm like, green ball? And I'm like, he goes, yeah, it's green ball.
Oh, I have goosebumps. That's so wild.
And so, of course, I sent his mom a picture of the green ball he was referring to. But again, he doesn't think anything of it because he's naturally, innately intuitive. And
even the weird, not weird, I love him, but the blonde thing, that was crazy.
Yes. He's it's intriguing, and he told his parents they needed to go to a place that they had actually been calling something else, and he referred to it as the new name that they actually call this place. They renamed they could do that in small towns. They renamed this little
And he would never know that.
No, he named it. It was an odd name, and he said we have to go there soon.
Do you
And
think that will be fostered in him?
Oh yeah. Derek will foster it. Yeah.
Will he? Do you think you'll ever wind up training him?
Oh, I hope so. I hope he might be training me. Who knows? He's pretty gifted already at 4.
That's a good point.
And it's very natural. He's very,
he's so of the light.
He's so of the light, and he's so funny because he said something. He goes, "And Terri, I got 4 boo-boos. I got 4 boo-boos because I fell on 4 rocks." I went, "Oh, sweetie, I'm sorry." He goes, "Yeah." He said, "But wait, I'm counting another one. There's 5 boo-boos." "Oh no, there's only 4 rocks."
Oh.
Just thinking, always thinking, always thinking. Like,
oh man. So, that's so cool.
Again, that's cool. It's amazing.
We got to get Derek on the pod.
We do. We got to get him on the pod. He would love that. I really feel he would. He would love that. It's a beautiful, wonderful, big world out there, folks. And yes, there's some things that are tragedies and difficulties and traumas and blah, blah, blah. But, you have a right to enjoy it. You have a right to go out there to foster good common sense, to foster kindness and love, to protect yourself, to not step in the middle of these cults. When you try to get out of a cult, and I will tell you, the hardest thing you will ever do is releasing yourself from a cult. And you've heard about many different organizations, some religious groups. When you step away from them, you are damned. You are dirty. You are damned. You are ostracized. You are nobody. You're told that you will be hunted down, haunted. You will be everything under the sun to terrify you, to make you feel unworthy of such choices that you make on your own. And it's one of the most demeaning times in your life. So, if you are in a cult, you need some help, you know how to reach out to the podcast. Not that we have all your answers, but we certainly can help.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
And try to help steer you to where peace is. So that's important.
And we talk about this, we always say we're an educational podcast, right? But, even though we're not digging into metaphysical topics this up, or, it's like, but we do this because we're seeing this be a problem. So,
Yes.
We're not just desiring to be on a soapbox. It's like we're seeing this and we're trying to put it in people's ear that it doesn't necessarily have to look or feel or be that way. Because we feel protective. It's like we're not, you know what I mean? Like we're not getting much out of this, but we want to like help other people not fall into what we've seen, because it is hard to watch. It is really sad, and then obviously it's anger driving, because how can another person do that to another person? And the answer is seemingly quite easily, because it's happening a lot.
Very easily. And if you ever had any doubt at all, go stand outside and look up at the sky. Go into a busy place, go out in an outdoor mall, stand there and look up at the sky and see how many people you got within just this amount of time that are all staring, looking up at the sky too. It's infectious. People got to know. People have a herd mentality. Oh, I hate that word, but there it goes. And they want to know. They all want to be.
It's biological.
It's biological. It is biological. And they all look to see what you're looking at. It's curiosity. It's a need to be a part of a community. And I love that on some levels. But we recognize it's easy to sway people the wrong way. So do your due diligence. Be kind, be loving, be a good soul, not one that you have to come back and recycle over and over again just to get it right.
Like you love first, wisdom second.
Woo, that's right. Now I'm sticking with it, people.
Yes.
I'm sticking with it. Now, we did say we're going to talk about attachments next time.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, let's take it into... Cool. Oh, it's going to be a great conversation.
Sounds like it kind of is also like this is a segue to that too, right?
Well, if you agree to go into a relationship with a community or a cult or whatever, that is still an agreement. You did still say yes initially. Was it coerced? Probably. Did you have all the information to make that decision? Probably not. But it is still a choice that we make.
Yep.
And so there is this metaphysical topic that is spoken about and is one of the primary, I would say, generators of false income is the topic of attachments. Well, if you pay me X amount of money, this ghoulish figure behind you that's with you, I'll remove. Well, prove that. Prove that it's there. Prove that it's gone. You know what I mean? Yep. And so we're going to talk about what that energy actually is and sort of the ways that can actually be real. And frankly, we're going to shed light on how hard it is for that to be real. Because it can happen, but it is.
It can happen.
It's not what people think. It's not so easy. There's a lot of agreement. So we'll leave it at that.
I can't wait. But we'll be handing out gold stars to that one. I like that.
Ooh, that one's going to be interesting. I love, because I've got questions about that with you as well.
I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Are we getting any questions? Is anyone wanting to know anything?
At the moment, not quite yet. Everyone just keeps saying nice things, honestly.
Oh, they are? They're saying nice things about us? You guys are so cool. You can ask a question, as long as it is when is my boyfriend coming? When is my girlfriend coming? When am I getting married? If you have something other than those questions.
People. I'm just kidding.
I know. No, you can ask whatever you want. But if you have a question, give us a chance to answer it. Who knows? Absolutely. We might even be right.
Yes. If you have any, let's leave that. If you have any questions about attachments, let us know and we'll try to answer them next episode.
Yes. Let us know. Inquiring minds got to know, but you're not sending it to us. So send it to us.
Well, Terri, as always, we have done it.
We have done it. We upgraded again.
It was great. I love talking to you every week. It's the most amazing thing.
I love talking to you every chance I get. You drive on those M streets. They got your back, honey.
Yes. I'm actually going to probably have to hit one to get to this interview. So
there you go. Yes. Good luck on that. I know it's going to be wonderful.
Thank you. I'm very excited. But I will see you next week. We'll talk about attachments. And hopefully when we meet up, neither of us will have any.
Oh, no attachments.
Imagine I come back. I've got like 8 of them. I'm like, well, we said we were going to talk about them.
I know. You'll just see my eyes above the screen going, help.
You just start throwing holy water through the.
That's right.
Heal. No, I'm just kidding.
Fizzles.
Well, I will see you next week, and we will.
Yes.
We'll talk between then. But I love you so much.
Love you too. Y'all have a wonderful day.
You too. And we'll link all the contact information down below.
Yes, indeed.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.